This presentation is about the Kulturkampf. Kulturkampf is a German word that translates to culture struggle, and it refers to the time period where Otto von Bismarck, who was the former Chancellor of Germany, forced the Catholic Church to adhere to government laws. So, context. Otto von Bismarck, he became Chancellor of the German Empire in March of 1871, so a few months before the Kulturkampf actually starts. And he was very conservative in his beliefs and tried to stop socialist ideas from spreading throughout Germany and Prussia. The German Empire. It's created in January of 1871, and this is mainly due because of the Prussian victory in the Franco-Prussian War, spurring people to really talk about a potential unification. And it's also helped by the fact that technology has enhanced. Travel is faster, and it's not as expensive as it was before, which helps create a sense of national unity. Vatican Council. The First Vatican Council ends in late 1870 and essentially establishes the definition of papal infallibility, and that definition says that the Pope is unable to be wrong when it comes to interpreting and understanding the teachings of the Catholic Church. Along with this, the Council rejected the idea of civil marriage, liberalism, popular sovereignty, and many other Enlightenment-based ideas. So, the Center Party. It was a political party started right before the unification of Germany, and it supported the views held by the Catholic Church. Because the empire was mainly Protestant believers, the Center Party was a minority party, but Bismarck was still wary of them. He was afraid that they would try to cause harm to the empire, and overall he did not trust them. Beginnings. So, the Kulturkampf really begins with the end of the Roman Catholic Bureau in the Prussian Ministry of Culture. It gets fused together with the Protestant Bureau to make one giant bureau dedicated to religion, and this angered a lot of people because the original intention for the Catholic Bureau was to make sure that there was religious tolerance for Catholics. So many people saw this as the government intentionally ignoring their religious rights. Priests were also forbidden from giving their political opinions during Mass. Religious schools were subject to state inspection. Liberals, usually non-Catholic, liked this law because their end goal was eventually to put education into the hands of the state. And they wanted to create open-minded students in order to create a progressive society, and they saw the Catholic Church as a barrier to that goal. But on the other hand, conservative Bismarck saw this as a way to stop the church from indoctrinating the youth against the government. So the picture that we see to the right is a political cartoon from 1872, and it basically depicts Bismarck as the thorn in the eye, per se, of Pope Pius IX. Jesuit law. The Jesuit law banned the Jesuits in Germany. This was mainly because the government believed that they were going to spread the idea that the Pope was superior to the government, and which was a doctrine discussed in the First Vatican Council. The Prussian Constitution is also further amended to reflect these changes, and obviously the Pope and multiple cardinals denounced this law. And the German Empire severs diplomatic relations with the Vatican. In 1873, the term Kulturkampf starts being used. It was coined by scientist Rudolf Virchow, who said, "I am of the conviction that this is a great cultural struggle." He used the phrase to call for a vote in the liberal German Progress Party, And instead of supporting the use of the term to rally against conservatives and Bismarck, Catholics actually mocked the term. May Laws. The May Laws, or the Falk Laws, were a series of bills that were passed from 1873 to 1875. They were named after Adalbert Falk, the Prussian Minister of Culture, and they were written by Falk and mainly centered around regulating religious practices. They restricted the church's power to punish people. The church was not allowed to use physical punishment at all, and that means that punishment was mainly contained to with spirituality by methods such as excommunication. Marriage became a civil ceremony and not a religious one in the eyes of the law. There were also no requirement to baptize children. Dioceses that didn't follow along with these laws were not given state funding, and clergy were at risk of being exiled. Now, ultimately, the May Laws and the Kulturkampf as a whole were failures because they did not actually end Catholic resistance to the German Empire. It actually spurred it. Effect. Catholic upset increased their representation in Parliament through the Centre Party, which is exactly the opposite of what Bismarck wanted to happen. The new Pope, Leo XIII, wanted peace, and Bismarck eventually concedes to peace. He sees that his objectives are not being fulfilled and decides he has more pressing matters to deal with, like socialism. The picture to the right shows a caricature of Bismarck attempting to cause havoc to St. Peter's, and the figure to the right of him is the devil, and so he's essentially watching as Bismarck is doing this. Bishops don't need to swear allegiance to Prussian laws, and the German Empire resumes diplomatic relations with the Vatican. And the Kulturkampf is declared over because the anti-Catholic laws are repealed. The picture to the left shows both the Pope and Bismarck, and hidden behind the curtains is a man in the middle. He is actually the leader of the Centre Party at this time, and so the picture essentially is showing that the Centre Party was kind of stuck in the middle of the conflict between the Pope and Bismarck, and that they were kind of trying to shift attention away from them as much as possible. Overall, a generation of Roman Catholic Germans becomes disconnected from their country because of these laws.